Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Dave Miller, president here at eMAM, and very excited that you could join us today. We're going to highlight our newest technology partner, Ortana, and share some of the things that we can do together. So we're going to record today's session. If you have questions, put them in the question box. We're happy to put them in it. Answer them at the end, and a little bit of overview of our company, and the gentleman from Ortana will share some things about their company and then how we work together. So at eMAM, we help organizations make, share, distribute content, supporting the whole workflow for digital media, starting with acquiring assets, either file-based or live ingest. Organize that into categories and projects so people can set permissions and share them and organize them. Creating the media, so we support creative collaboration, so with designers and editors working along with producers and customers, with panels inside the Adobe Suite, inside Avid, inside Resolve, etc., working together with the web interface. Halfway through the process, sharing, creating, collaborating, review and approval processes. After media is finished, we can deliver and package wherever it needs to go, and then finally archiving the media. So complete workflow process. A few things about our company. We have security baked in, and we're a very mature company, so we're SOC 2, ISO 27000, disaster recovery, kind of options built into the system. We have a range of options for working with us. So we have SaaS, we have PaaS, a platform as a service, a monthly, hourly license, annual license, or perpetual license. So lots of options working with us. People can start small and grow big with the system. Lots and lots of configuration built in the system, and processes to save on labor costs and infrastructure costs. We work in the cloud, we work on-premise, hybrid. We have over 110 technology partners and dozens of system integrators worldwide. And it's an easy system to use. You can use it with AI. We have our own on-prem AI or third-party AIs within our technology partners, and you can use it with whichever interface is more suitable. So here is our web interface from any web browser. And you can set up your own little workspace depending on how you use the media. And then we also have, for less technical users, a web interface. So you can send them an email, or you can have them log into a simple web interface. And again, lots of options for how you work with us on the media. And as I mentioned, we have 110 technology partners. We list them here all at our website, how we bring in the media, store the media. This is all at eMAM Solutions. AI partners, broadcast, cloud, editing, file transfer, media orchestration, publishing, and final storage. So let me turn it over to our colleagues at Ortana, and let's see. Oh boy.
Go ahead and give me the permission there, if that's all right. So.
I'm trying to.
Yeah, the change presenter. I'll change it to me. Let me see if I can do that. So there we go.
Yes, please. Okay. Yes. Now we're cooking. Sorry about that. Thank you.
Not a problem. Thank you, David. So just carrying on from that introduction there on eMAM, let's talk a little bit about Ortana. So Ortana Media Group, not quite as old as eMAM, but still pretty old. We've been around now since 2012. And we have teams based in Europe, so we're headquartered in the UK, but we have also support engineering in Kuala Lumpur and North America, so we can do a full follow the sun support for any of our clients globally. Now, our focus since our existence in 2012 has been really built around our Cubics orchestration platform, which really focuses on being able to integrate disparate technologies together into a common architecture, and then being able to then apply orchestration to that. So we have always had a very strong focus on API integrations, We have over 160, I think eMAM now we count as our 163rd integration. So again, you can see both with eMAM and Cubics, you have a lot of integration capabilities. But critically there, we really focus on the workflow side of things. And workflow is often done for a few reasons. I mean, the obvious one is to do more with less, but also by removing what we call the vendor gap, which is, like we would see here, if you're looking to migrate from an existing MAM into eMAM, by having the native integrations that Cubics offers and that orchestration there, it allows you to build those workflows as you need. And workflows are achieved through configuration. It's a key thing with the Cubic stack that when you're designing workflows, it's exactly that. It's a drag and drop designer. It's fully abstracted away from our integration there. So it means that you can really tailor and build workflows to your heart's content. Now, Cubics, like eMAM, can be deployed fully on-prem, fully in the cloud, or in a true hybrid setup. And also like eMAM, we're also fully, truly multi-tenanted, so you can configure as many different tenants as you wish in this platform as needed. So if you have a multi-tenant migration or multi-tenant workflows, and again, tenant could be different companies or internal departments, you can pick and choose as you need to run that. Now, I'm certainly not going to go through all of the details of all of these today, but just to give you an idea of the breadth and depth of some of the integrations that we offer. And obviously, all of these on here now are now available as part of eMAM, thanks to the integration through Cubics. So looking at file acceleration, capture, AQC, and transcoding, you'll see a lot of the major on-prem devices that we support. We also have our own open source transcoding, and we also have our own open source file acceleration, so mechanically similar to Aspire and Signiant, just without the extensive license fees that can occur there. We also then have integration of things like scheduling, newsroom. We'll happily manage any on-prem storage that we can access via standard protocols. But again, what you see here is where we've gone deeper and it's that API layer. And critically, that's important, especially when you're looking at migrations around tier 3 storage. So whether that be LTO, things like Diva, RQR, that kind of stuff, but also spinning disk as well. We have our own panel for Adobe, just like you also have within eMAM, but also we can integrate with things like VDIs and that kind of stuff. So again, thinking more on the provisioning side as well is also now a possibility with this. So you could trigger a provisioning request from within eMAM. We work with both on-prem AI, as you'll see, but also turning into the cloud. We also work with all the major CSPs when it comes to storage. And again, that could be the upload, download, change storage class, but also provisioning of compute and resource in the cloud. And just like with eMAM, again, we have a good extensive options for AI indexing. And as you can see here, we work with a number of MAMs. So eMAM, of course, being one of them, but we also have integrations, things like CatDV, Frame.io, and Iconic. So again, when you're looking at a migration away from, say, CatDV to eMAM, this is something that Cubics can do out of the box. So this is pre-supported standard integrations that already exist, templated workflows that you can work with and then adapt as you need to. And the finance you'll see a bit of today, we work directly with social media, we work with message queues. All of our portals make use of Okta and Entra for security. Our present monitoring makes use of a wide range of messaging mediums, as you can see, and even that things like we're really good at the kind of billing and tracking side. So again, whether that's a workflow that you're triggering around eMAM or directly from eMAM, we can also then bring together the billing system into that. Now today we're really talking about Cubics Connect. Connect is, as you can imagine, very focused around the idea of connecting together different technologies. And this is very true as we see here with eMAM. So everything we're going to show today is available under our Connect licensing. Very similar to eMAM, this is available perpetually. It's also available on subscription. And it can be done either on-prem or in the cloud with subscription. So you can do SaaS on-prem, or of course you can do SaaS on cloud. And one of the key things around Connect is we're really focusing about this idea of kind of anything in, anything out. We want to allow you to plug together your technology as you need to, and then really design and use workflows on top of that. And we have two different ways of doing it. We have our simple Connect widget, which we'll take a quick look at, but also then we have our full workflow designer. So as mentioned, lots of connections available. And with the Connect widget, you get a really simple interface where you can go through and select the connection you want to work with. You enter in some basic information to connect to that endpoint. So if we're talking to eMAM, it would be the credentials and the endpoint for the API. If it's S3, we're obviously talking about your key and secret key, that kind of thing. And once the connection is established, you're then able to look at what templates are available. And these are pre-built. They're shared with you. They're designed to be very simple. Bearing in mind this methodology is where we're giving you kind of pre-built workflows as opposed to our workflow designer we'll see shortly, which is the full kind of end-to-end workflow designer. And basically you populate a template with those connections, and that creates a workflow. So you could take a content migration template, populate it with your source MAM connection, populate it with your target eMAM connection, and then that will then sit and actually do that migration for you. And it is that simple. I cannot stress how much we've tried to simplify this. So all of the clever stuff's still happening in the background, but for yourself, it really is point and click to do these migrations. So of course, what are the benefits of this integration we've got with eMAM? Well, the first thing is around managed migrations. As we've seen, we can work with a lot of different sources, whether that be social media platforms, whether that be existing MAMs, storage containers, live sources, all the kind of things. We are able to work and manage that migration directly into eMAM, and all of that's being done via the API. And as you'll see shortly, because we're going to see some of this in action, you have full tracking and transparency of all of that through the Cubics orchestration there. And of course, this can leverage any of the integrations we've got. Again, thinking about that anything in, anything out. So this could be, MAM plus HSM. This could be social media platform, or could just be a simple watch folder, and you could use Cubics as that import method. So it really is up to you. And of course, it's not just getting content into eMAM with metadata, but also we've integrated it such that you can trigger Cubics on the way out. And as you'll see with our workflow designer, you can really build workflows to your hard's content. So you really do have a really wide range of options of the kind of workflows you can do. And that could be the obvious things like, QC, transcode distribution. But again, this could be around provisioning of resources. This could be tracking of billing as well. So really stepping out of that kind of pure MAM workflows into a wider set. And all of this is being with what we like to call the media aware workflow engine. So Cubics is media aware. It's able to intelligently understand media passing through it. And so of course, the benefit of that being is that the workflow can be intelligent. So if we need to change field dominance or do track stacking or all those other kind of capabilities, we need to normalize assets in a workflow, Cubics is more than able to do that. So what I thought we'd do now is actually take a look at this in action within a live demo here. So just give me one moment whilst I change my screens around. So one of the things we're going to look at here first off is the Cubics technical portal. Now this is part of Connect. It's available on all the different versions of Cubics. So really we're going to look at this from two sides. The first side here is if we have is kind of the user side, and I'll come back to this in a second. What I'd like to start with is actually the workflow design side. Now of course you only have to do this first when it's done. And again, this is an alternative way of working with Connect in comparison to the Connect widget. As you saw with that few slides we had, the Connect widget does all this for you. This is really if you want to have that higher level of control, when you want to build workflows. And again, thought it'd be good today just go through that deeper dive. So the first one I'm going to go into is one of my task flows I've got here, which is my YouTube to eMAM ingest. Now, you can hear me use the word task flow today. Task flow is a workflow. We call it a task flow because basically we define tasks and they flow down a journey, and hence the name kind of task flow came from. And regardless of what you're building a task flow for, the steps are effectively the same. So we start with the trigger. And here you can see that I'm monitoring a couple of YouTube channels via MSS to acquire content, but I do have other trigger types available. So I could have baskets or API calls, I could have watch folders, consume MRSS feeds. We work with FlexiCards for tape ingest, live capture, playout schedules, scheduled tasks, SLA breaches we'll come back to in a little bit, but also things like message queues and webhooks. And actually you'll see the webhook in action shortly today. So the next thing we then start to build is our journey. Now, a lot of workflow designers go left to right, and we always admire this, it's great. But when you're at a trade show, it looks pretty, but actually when you start building proper workflows, to be honest, it's a very good way of getting RSI, shall we say. So I'm scrolling here up and down using my scroll on my mouse, nice and easy. And instead of showing the entire workflow in one go, I'm really just showing, if you will, the path I'm on right now, the branch I'm on right now. So here I have my steps in the workflow. The arrows here indicate my happy path. So I'm moving down positively in the workflow. So here you can see I'm acquiring from YouTube, I'm doing a transcode, transferring that into the eMAM storage, and then creating the eMAM asset. But of course, what if something goes wrong? Well, at every success step in the workflow, I can have a branch or failure. So let's say there was an issue acquiring from YouTube. You can see here I've got this failed state. And if I click on next, I can go into my side branch, and here I can start drag and dropping in. I'll just use some random state names here, but here you can see I can start building out what happens in that branch. And of course, then this branch can have sub branches. This branch can fall back onto the main. So it's that same kind of flowchart capability, but instead of showing you everything in a single dimensional view, I'm only showing you what you're working on right now. And this is just a much cleaner way of workflow design in our experience. Now, once you've built the flow, the next thing we need to start adding in here is the processes, because of course the flow is just, if you will, the plumbing. We haven't got any intelligence in there yet. Now, the nice thing about these processes within Cubics is they're not hard coded into Cubics, they're actually plugins. And this is really important because it means that we can ship new task flow processes to our clients very quickly. it's containerized, so you're only dragging and dropping them into the workflows you need. And of course, from there, then you can do the testing you want. So even when you're a live system, you can have a test workflow with a test process, and we're not having to wait for the development cycle of getting a QA release and everything else out. As you can see here, I have different processes for doing different things. So here I have my remote fetch from YouTube, my transcoding, and of course, my eMAM process here for creating the asset. And these are shipped with configuration. So for example, if I click on one of these, I'll see the configuration that's for that step. So of course, you can drag and drop these in. It's very simple. And of course, you can then have the same process different times with different configurations. See here, I've actually got the same one twice with a different configuration. Now, once configured, you add in your views, and this is where we show the user just what he or she needs at that point. Key point of task flow is to simplify the experience, so they're only showing you the pertinent thing. Now, because this is a fully automated workflow, and it doesn't have to be, obviously, today we're showing a lights out migration, so of course it is, but I could fully have all manual steps or a mixture of manual steps. I can pick and choose those. And so I have different panels that I show. Here you can see I've got my compliance panel, my EDL panel, and so forth. But actually what I'm just looking at here is our automation. So again, in Cubics, we abstract orchestration away from automation. We see them as very different. So we have this idea of harnesses, and a harness consumes an API. So of course we have an eMAM harness which can consume the API, and that can be local on-prem or in the cloud, deployed where it's needed, as many as needed. And then our orchestration here is producing jobs for that orchestration there, sorry, automation layer to action. So if you will, the orchestrator is a delegator. It's creating these jobs and then waiting for them to be succeeded or not. And all the business intelligence, of course, sits within these processes. Now, what I can also configure is SLAs. So if I want to point into key points in the workflow where I say, I actually want to monitor and track the performance of this. So I can go ahead and tick key milestones, let's say from new to complete. And then I can then go and configure an SLA in here. So I can click on that, give it a name, and I can choose my start and end. And I can then configure warnings, which could be a mixture of content duration or based on a fixed interval. And obviously then this can then trigger alerts. Now, this happens proactively though. So after the workflow's been running for a while, we actually begin to predict ETAs based on current performance and trend analysis, based on priorities and where we are in the workflow. And this can then be used to trigger other workflows. So that could be triggered for regards to scaling, or of course could just be triggering to operators to advise them of the issue. And as mentioned, that can be Slack, Teams, SMS, Telegram, lots and lots of different WhatsApp, lots of different methods doing. Now we've got a few more final steps here, but that's pretty much the key things for doing. And once we've then built the workflow, we can then see this from a user perspective. So when I go into here now, I have the concept of saved searches. So save search is a question. So in this case, I'm just looking at everything in the workflow. So I'll go ahead and just refresh this. And here we can see we've got some active things coming through. And just to show this is not a canned demo, I appreciate those of you who are watching this as a recording. It's not the best thing, but here we are on the 17th. So I have the latest news bulletin coming in here. The snow forecast for the 17th. We're very excited about snow here in Europe when we get it. And sadly, we can see here that Jesse Jackson died aged 84. So I'm just going to load this task up here. And so we can see the status is complete. Now these columns are fully configurable based on my user account or based on the safe search I've selected. So here I've got status, the workflow belongs to, but you might have other asset IDs or bookings people, whoever you want. This right-hand side here is fully configurable, so you'll see this change slightly as we look at the different workflows. But here I have a title, notes, that core information, so I don't have any SLAs configured yet. Microtasks are really useful deviations. So if I need to reset something or retry or duplicate that kind of stuff, it allows you to do controlled deviations within the workflow. And then this area I can fully configure as I need. And critically, I can see the full history of what happened. So I can see this task was created only a couple of hours ago, and this is downloaded, transcoded, transferred the media, and gone ahead and created that asset in my eMAM instance. So I have the full audit trail. Obviously, see that I'm 100%. And so if there's any user interaction, if there was any issues or anything, I'll be able to see and track and manage those there. So if I look at, for example, one that's in progress, you can see here again that they're still progressing and has been since about an hour now. So probably something's gone wrong with that one. So let's take a look at this actually inside eMAM. So here's my eMAM system. Oops, click on that. I'm just going ahead and do my search again. And again, just to try and show the action of this. So let's go ahead and take that search for Jesse. We'll come into here, search. And here we go. We can see the assets come in, highlighted for me. And there's the proxy that I've brought in, obviously thumbnails and everything else. So if this was coming from a existing MAM system, which obviously would be more the normal workflow, the YouTube one we're doing here more of a demonstration purposes. As you can see, this is bringing in either the original proxy or that we're regenerating. Same for thumbnails, but also all of the metadata as well. So I have quite a limited amount of metadata. In this case, I have some just new description, author, and so forth, but we would pull through all of that metadata from a source system. I'm going to use CatDV as a good example. So if you have CatDV, we're going to pull through all of that asset-based metadata, timecode-based metadata, but also even things like the categories. And categories, keep me from true here, David, but this is a good way of navigating with security. So I can make sure that only the right people have access to the right content. Is that a good understanding of how categories can work as well?
Yes.
Perfect. So we're matching source categories and everything. So this really is a real-time like-for-like syncing. And of course, this can remain syncing. So you don't have to turn off your existing MAM whilst you're doing this. Obviously, you can dual run. It's important. Obviously, we've got to change the wheels on the bus here without actually stopping the bus. So this is a really, really good way of doing that, where you can have the two systems in sync. And of course, when you're ready to turn off the existing MAM and stay solely with eMAM, you're able to do that. Now, of course, everything we've shown so far, and just to get rid of these are the ones you can see coming through here. Everything we've done is kind of going into eMAM. Well, obviously, we also want to now show sort of the opposite now coming out of eMAM. So eMAM team here very kindly added in some buttons here. Now, the way the eMAM workflow engine works, of course, this could be triggered by assets getting into a certain status, metadata being set, or in a very simple case here, like just by an operator pressing a button. So this is very rudimentary in the sense of showing it working. But of course, normally speaking, we would configure the relevant rules as part of the eMAM automation to then trigger workflows as needed. Now, as we've seen, workflows in Cubics can be configured for almost anything that we have an integration for. So this could be provisioning of Active Directory users, Nexus shares, billing, doesn't have to be media workflows. But of course, from this kind of experience here, we're looking to go ahead and sending an asset off to platform. So I'm going to go ahead and trigger this. And again, just to show this is all live, I'm going to go back to my eMAM save search, and this one now is my platform fulfillment. Here you'll see I've only got 2 tasks right now, which are my existing ones. Well, I'm going to go ahead and send this off to YouTube. That says it's been triggered. So let's go back here and take a look at our orchestration layer. And there we go. We can see that new one's come in. And that's going to pick up shortly and start processing and going through. And again, this has been designed just like the other workflow. So if I go back here into my workflow designer, we can see here that I've got my platform fulfillment workflow, where I have my trigger here. And of course, then I can go through and look at my workflows and everything else. So we are able to marry any trigger from eMAM to any workflow we wish inside Cubics. And again, those wide range of workflows that we've got. So of course, that's now go ahead and going through. And of course, this can then provide status updates. So we could have a metadata field here, which is showing progress percentage, showing history of things that have gone through. So you can stay within the pane of glass. We're a big believer at Ortana about keeping you in a pane of glass. It doesn't have to always be the same one. If you're an operator staying in eMAM, you don't want to go look at Cubics. So we're going to make sure everything is visible to you from eMAM. Conversely, if you're working with the Cubics UI, again, you don't need to look at eMAM. So it's that kind of keeping the operator in the same place and keeping it, again, nice and efficient. So I'll pause at that point for questions. Hopefully it gives you a bit of a taste of the kind of things that we can do with this integration. It's very difficult in such a short amount of time to show really the true power and depth of this. But as you can see, we can source from any media source, prem, cloud, or multi-prem, existing MAM, trigger a workflow migration with AI indexing, with proxy generation or normalization or anything else we wish to do. And of course, push that natively into eMAM complete with all of the metadata. So very good for media migrations. And then of course, critically from eMAM, we can then trigger any workflow we wish within Cubics. So I'll pause there. Any questions?
Great, thanks so much, James. I think we answered a number of the questions already. More information I put in the chat. So our 2 websites have a wealth of information, both the technology partners we have and the channel partners we have in regional markets working with our customers. So question is where this will work. And as mentioned, this will work on-prem, it'll work in the cloud, it'll work hybrid. So certainly lots of options there. Migration.
Will this work with both eMAM on-prem and eMAM and cloud, right? They work with both either of those instance types. Yeah.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, it gives people lots of flexibility. How complex are migrations? That's going to come down to the details of migrating from what to what. But at a simple level, I think we did it in less than, well, we showed you how it was done in less than 10 minutes, but pretty straightforward. And our teams would, love to, dive in with you in terms of what your workflows and how we can migrate from any of the pre-made or third-party systems. see if there's any other questions here. And we're going to have another session this evening in, is that 8 hours? 7.5 hours. If you want, we can send you a recording of today's session. We can send you the presentations. I think that's most of the questions. So again, it's Ortana.tv and eMAMsolutions.com. Thank you so much for your interest today, and reach out to us, our partners, our technology partners, and hope to see you online or at upcoming shows this year. Thanks so much.
Appreciate it.
And we did violate the one rule: don't show how the sausage is made. But I think you did a brilliant job in the King's English. So thank you so much for working with us on this.
Our pleasure, David. Thank you very much, and we appreciate it as well. Very exciting by what some workflows can be enabled by this great partnership.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody.